Good day, everybody. I'm back here, and welcome to the Boys in Motion podcast. My name is Tyler, and I'm here with the boys once again, Brian and Andrew. Today, I think it's perfect timing to dive into some of the biggest challenges for endurance athletes every single year. And we come back to this. I personally always have the same problem: how to keep your training rolling when the temperature drops, and those must have items or things to do when that temperature gets below zero and that snow starts falling.
Winter training. It's one of those things that can make or break it for your whole year. The snow started creeping into our seasons, so it's really here. You can see the bike is behind me because winter cycling season has begun. So I'm busy on my whoosh. I'm seeing a lot more rides and a little bit less running out on those streets. So we're here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the things that you might need to, buy if this is your first winter training season. Because with the right gear, smart planning, and a solid mindset, it can actually be a secret weapon season for you. And it'll help you set up for a beautiful spring season.
Yeah, this one's super timely because it definitely got very cold and snowy very quick here in southern Ontario. And it seems like each time that winter comes around, I need to relearn some things because it seems like I forget quite a bit of it and I make a few mistakes, have some cold fingers, maybe a little bit condensation buildup from wearing too many layers. So today we're just going to jump into it and talk about all those tips and tricks to just mastering winter training.
And we're going to start this episode off with a little story because what prompted this episode was actually my run with Adam and Mark this past weekend. I ran a half marathon. They joined me for 15 kilometers of it. And about halfway through, Adam started getting hot. So he had to rip his one layer off and he held it in his hand for a while because he was just a little overdressed. And I think that's something a lot of us fall victim to is you don't quite know how to dress outdoors while you're running. And it's definitely an acquired skill. So about 3/4 of the way through, so he's been carrying his shirt in his hand for about, I don't know, maybe 4K, 5K. And at like the 12K mark, he just launches it off the walking path that we're on, and he would have had to like park on a busy 4-lane street and then come down to the canal path just to pick it up. If anybody's in Niagara, you know how busy Woodlawn is. It's not the kind of street you want to pull over on to then go walk down to the trails. So that is the big shout out on the why, and I think it's the perfect place to start, which is that layering strategy.
Yeah, and that's perfect actually. I'll tease a little bit of a Easter egg for the end of the episode for people to stick around. But that crazy work that was being done on the weekend with a lot of the BIM members from Ottawa with a track ultra, and that was the same thing there was the layering. A lot of people too warm and a lot of people too cold going into the night hours, the temperature dropping, and you just get cold really quickly. So managing those layers and making sure honestly that you have more layers than not. So like one layer, no good, poubelle. You want to have that base layer, you want to have that a layer over top, and maybe even a windbreaker. So I think the layering strategy is starting to come back into effect, and really trying to optimize. Okay, it's between this degree and let's say it's windy today. You kind of got to start to know your winter outfit pickings again.
Now, on the topic of the windbreaker, the one big thing and the one big key I would say with that is that you don't want to be a hot pocket and you want something that is breathable or ideally, and this would be my biggest thing, is something that has where you can unzip the arms where it's under the arm so it's still protecting you from things like snow because it can definitely happen quick where you think you're fine, but then you start sweating. And then, like Tyler, you were saying, once that kind of sweat and condensation starts setting in, you start getting the shivers. And then no matter how many layers you have on, it gets really cold really quick.
Yeah, and I think this is like everybody's got to trust what they know about it, but it's definitely worth mentioning those like base, mid, outer kind of thresholds and the fact that you need to sort of build it for the conditions. Like if it's not wet, not windy, and not that cold, there's no real reason for that big outer shell. So you need to be mindful. And it's also like it varies from person to person. My hands get super cold, but my like body generally is pretty warm. So I'll often go out with like one layer, but need some pretty serious gloves. And others are the exact opposite. Other people like they need that hat or they're not going out. And so just you'll start to learn about your body, but don't hesitate to like go buy the quality material that you need, because if you're running in it, you're going to be using it a lot. I have a $5 outer shell like windbreaker thing, and it kind of sucks to use, and I'm looking to upgrade that. But in a pinch, you can always go for the budget option and then kind of upgrade when you know you need to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Big shout out to John. I know he listens. He's got the dad hands, the warm hands, so he just never, no matter what the temperature is, no gloves. He's just runs hot on the gloves. I'm there full ski gloves, friggin' buff, full neck cover, and even sometimes glasses to cover the wind in the face. And he's just sometimes no hat, no gloves, just living life.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of one of those things, like we kind of mentioned, all of us kind of are either too hot, too cold this weekend. It will take a couple times going out, and unfortunately, sometimes the weather can be a little bit bipolar. So kind of dialing in to what your body wants and like the temperatures that it can endure can sometimes take a little bit of time, and you can sometimes get got by that weather yo-yo. But after kind of like a month into it, once it's truly cold and staying cold, hopefully, it is kind of, I find you can kind of bucket it where it's kind of that around zero, you wear a certain type of thing, and then kind of like negative 10 to 20 is a certain thing, and then beyond that, then it's like a really bundle up situation.
Yeah, exactly. And now is the time to kind of take mental notes of those things so that you're not always yo-yoing with the heat. And the other thing is like you can do a little bit of a warm up inside so that it's not quite as cold when you make it outside. And I would say the second thing is like you might be cold in those first few kilometers, but if you are really cold, either just start blasting or go home and get more layers. I often find that like in the winter, I'll start a little bit hotter than I would in the like summer time just to bring that base temperature up a little bit so that I start, yeah, kind of my body's trying to shed some heat if I'm all bundled up. So, Andrew, you are, I think between the three of us, you have the most amount of shoes. For those who are trying to run, especially those trying to run outside for the first time over the winter, what are some of those footwear tips that you might provide?
Number one footwear tip, and I think once you do this, you won't go back, is a good pair of Gore-Tex shoes is key. I have a pair of road shoes that I love. Right now it's a pair of Cliftons that keep my feet nice and dry. I think once you go to Gore-Tex for the winter and you're doing a lot of outdoor running, once you switch back to a non-Gore-Tex pair, it's night and day, the comfort and just the enjoyment of that run. And then also on top of that, if you're doing running in places where there's snow, ice, combining a pair of road shoes with a pair of trail shoes, even if you are doing road running, is super, super nice for kind of having a little bit more traction. And if there's kind of recent snowfall, you just feel a little bit more secure in your step.
Yeah, that's my go-to, the trail shoe. I know some people try spikes or something. I've actually seen and heard of people put very small, what do you call it, tacks or something in the soles of their shoe to add traction. I would not do that. That's kind of belligerent. But yeah, I also
No,
didn't have
Tyler,
spikes work well for me.
belligerency is your recipe. So I'm surprised you wouldn't do that.
So that's the thing. I thought of it, and then I'm like, even for me, this is belligerent, so it's a no go for me. But even with spikes, I tried them like spikes on road shoes, and I was still slipping and sliding a little bit everywhere. So for me, the best thing would be just getting those miles on the trail shoes, like Andrew said. Even though it would be a road route or something like that, just get that extra traction on the snow, slush, and water or ice.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. And I think there's also a number of shoes that actually have pretty good traction as is. Some shoes are like super flat and don't offer much traction, and those are the ones that like I avoid using in the slippery snow. But like I've noticed, for example, like Nike, Pegasus, and those kind of like all of those models, they have pretty good traction that can get you through most winter runs. Definitely not all of them. I still trust my trail shoes for like those really, really snowy runs. But I find footwear is one of those things where if it's not actively snowing and it hasn't just stormed, you're generally okay to wear many of your shoes.
Now, let's talk socks because last winter I had a bit of a mishap with my sock selection when it got really cold. And it was a really cold night and I had a track workout. So I really was lacing down my shoes, getting them nice and tight, and they were kind of a tighter fitting shoe. And mid track session, I wore a really thick pair of socks because it was one of those bitter cold nights. And mid track session, my feet just went completely numb. So you want to bundle up the feet. You want to wear like nice merino wool socks, but I would probably avoid your like big, thick skiing socks because your feet might just go numb.
Yeah, it's definitely a consideration. I think like smart wool is super good. You can get yourself like generally if you get like 3 pairs of decent winter socks, you're pretty good on that. But it's definitely worth spending a little bit of money on, like I said, quality materials. It counts a lot for your socks. It'll avoid those painful runs, those uncomfortable runs, because you might be getting wet. It just it screws you up a little bit, the winter training. And I think this is one place where it's worth having a little bit of quality over just like sheer quantity of like just regular cotton running socks that you might wear 3 seasons of the year.
Yeah, 100%. And I have that kind of same rotation. Like I have a cotton just a little bit thicker, but not crazy for those, mid cold days. I have a actually like a, let's call it, those roots wool socks, a little bit thicker, but not that crazy thickness. And I usually can get through some pretty decent cold runs with those and the Gore-Tex shoes. And then, those merino wools, those thick boys where I really have to consider actually wearing a different type of shoe. Like you said, Andrew, like wearing a tight shoe or a speed shoe might not work really well with those merino wools because they're just a little bit thicker than you want them. But I do have some shoes actually like a good half size or a full size bigger, which I would wear with that combination, let's say, keeps the feet nice and toasty and comfortable.
Now, another one that I think we need to consider, and especially for us night runners, so this is one that definitely takes some adjusting for me. But Brian, last year you copped a very nice premium lighting option. So can you give us some tips on being seen when the days aren't quite as long?
Yeah, so it's being able to see and being seen. So I think the like 1-2 punch of lighting is a headlamp and then a reflective vest. And honestly, a reflective vest with lighting is ideal. You can go the reasonable cheap route and get something off like your Amazon or AliExpress. There's a bunch of vests there for headlamps. I just like good reliable stuff that you can bring out into the woods as well or go mountaineering with. So I think a decent headlamp that isn't too bulky or heavy is a really good purchase. It's something that you can use not only for running but other places in your life. But that reflective vest is so nice. I have the Nox gear, which, like you said, is a pretty premium brand, but there's a number of other brands. But I would recommend if you're running and you're not, even if you are exclusively on trails, I would still recommend getting a light up vest. It's worth its weight in gold because if anything ever happened to you and it's because a car couldn't see you, that's 100% avoidable because it's all very accessible and it'll show up to your doorstep. So don't hesitate if you're running in the dark, especially in the winter because it's always dark, get a vest. And they're comfortable to run in. I don't know if either of you have complaints from running in a vest, but for me it's like always been good and I think like sure maybe a little bit more premium might give you a better fit, but honestly, I don't think it matters that much. Just go out and get one.
Yeah, I'm looking at some right now.
And they're cheap. Yeah, like you can get something for really cheap, and that's even like for if you're running in the city where there's light. So like seeing isn't necessarily an issue. Being seen is always, as you said, like something that you should be thinking about. And then, if you're going more in the dark on trails, then grab a headlamp so that you can actually see where you're stepping.
Yeah, for sure. You were saying, Ty?
Oh, I'm just looking at some right now. You could get some real nice ones with different lighting modes for under $20 on Amazon. So comes to your doorstep tomorrow. Not sponsored yet.
Yeah, no Big Daddy Bezos sponsor in this.
Oh, not yet, not yet. Yeah, no, but that's a great idea. I think that's why I'm going to step up my game this year is being seen. I've always worn a high vis vest, but not lit up. So I think that's my next step. Light it up. And of course, if you also are, scared of that reasonably, let's say, reasonably scared or spooked from your normal routes during the summer, and they're now you're doing them totally in the dark, also try to maybe change your routing to go into spots where it's fairly lit up or within a city center and not do like random back roads, Brian, or trails, stuff like that. Obviously trails you won't get hit by a car or anything, but it's very dark, so make sure you have the proper lighting, really.
Yeah, but it is fair, like, especially here in Niagara, running on country roads in the winter is fine during the day when you know when to jump out of the way, but in the dark, it's quite scary. I've done it more than I'd like, and I try to avoid doing it now. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, like, yeah, just be a little bit more reasonable in the routes that you set. And like, do you guys remember doing the ultra at the end of the winter ultra last year when Andrew ran his 100K?
Yeah, definitely less than ideal.
Like we were running
I
down
remember we
McLeod.
had,
Exactly.
yeah.
That was brutal.
Story tell a little bit for us. Like, how bad was it?
I mean, we're all tired. We were near the end. What were we? I was probably like 95, 90K into the 100K. And I remember like you were kind of one step to the right, and then the rest of us were like kind of more into the ditch because we didn't want to be like, you know, we wanted to be off the road as much as possible. And yeah, it was definitely pretty sketchy. And along that section, I find people are just like, we're not very considerate. So would not recommend.
Yeah, and that, like you said, that section, barely any shoulder, dark. We were all a little woozy. I could just imagine you, Andrew, with double the mileage that we had. But yeah, I was getting in a dark place, literally just trying to remember one foot in front of the other and try not to step into the road too much. Yeah, that was spook territory right there. But yeah, I think visibility and safety, number one, of course.
Yeah, and that was the crazy thing is like I feel like at that point I was wearing my Nox gear, like the back is usually way more lit. I was wearing it on the front so that people could see us, and it was snowing like crazy. And if you're in the car at that point and there's a car coming from the other way, you still can't see even with all that lighting. So like drivers, even the best drivers, if you're not lit up and it's snowing and all that, it's impossible to see you. So I think lighting is just one of those things. And I won't beat a dead horse, but we have chatted about it previously as well. So moving on to those last little like winter gear running essentials of things you can buy, glove hats, buffs, that sort of thing. I like for me, I have actually four separate like levels of gloves that I have. I have super thin ones that I can wear like basically year round. They're so thin. And then I have some that are good for like maybe like 0 degrees to -8, and then I have my -8 to -15, and then I'm like just full snow glove by the end of it, what I wear skiing. Do you guys have any like rules of thumbs that you use for your glove hats and buffs?
I'm pretty similar with gloves. I'm saying my fingers get super, super cold, so I err on the side of like way more. I love mitts. I find that they keep my hands way warmer than if my fingers are all separated, but often I'll go like always a base layer and then I'll layer on top with different layers. And then I really love buffs. I find, especially in the winter when it's windy, covering kind of your nose down, just getting it kind of the kind of the Windburn, yeah, windburn in the winter, that can be brutal if you do a run and you don't have a buff and you come back and you're just like, your face is super sensitive. So I find just a buff and they're, super, super cheap. So it's definitely worth picking up.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just writing these all down. Gonna go do another Amazon haul after this, get my winter gear ready to go. But yeah, I do. I just have like basically a light pair of gloves, and then basically in Ottawa, anything past like kind of Christmas, I just go full ski gloves, ready for a snowball fight, ready to go skiing, and ready to climb Mount Everest. So just always wear those massive gloves because for me, I just like warm hands.
Tyler, you got to stop referring to Amazon. Bush Taka is the new like shopping provider of the Ottawa
That
Red
is
Boys.
true. That is true. I just should start plugging Bush Taka. That'd be real nice.
Exactly.
Get some royalties.
Yeah. So we'll leave that. I think like there's definitely some adjustments that we need to do to training. There's some things that you can buy certainly for like cycling that make the winter season a lot more exciting. I think a smart trainer is that number one thing. Smart trainer allows you as a cyclist to actually like feel the grade and connect to software that makes it feel real enough. You can join people on that virtually and it's super fun. For the runners, yeah, you can get a treadmill, but I would never do that to myself, and I know none of us do, but there's definitely people who love the treadmills.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's you with running. It's nice because you have the choice. Where with like bike, it's a matter of safety. You can't go out road biking when it's super slick and stuff. But with running, it is at least nice. Either you can follow the tips that we just shared with all the gear and clothing to keep you comfortable, or you can suffer inside on the treadmill. So yeah, the choice is yours.
See, the thing about cycling is somebody forgot to tell Tomic that you can't ride his bike during the winter, and he had me pick this up yesterday, or sorry, this evening. It's a 2020 or 2019 Cannondale with Di2 carbon wheels.
What the
Basically
heck?
Tyler's dream bike.
What the heck?
So that was a little surprise for the pod. This is basically exactly what you were looking for, Tyler, and Tomic just scooped it up for I think 2,800.
Just give it a nice scoop. And I mean, I guess he's gonna be riding it all winter long indoors.
Exactly. Now he's just missing the smart trainer. But yeah, I think
For
that
free.
that's the one thing that I would say is like if you are looking for gear, it's these kind of like shoulder season when people are like packing it in for the season and or like yeah, upgrading themselves. Now's the time where you can find a lot of like secondary market deals. So check Facebook Marketplace. You might be able to find like a machine that you might want to use for the winter, whether it's like cross training with rowing or actually being able to pick up a bike that's reasonably priced. Now is the time to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Take advantage of those people that, may have picked up a bike and then they see it sitting there all summer long and then trying to offload it during the fall. That's when I got my road bike as well, and it's definitely nice to get something for a good deal, and you can actually use it, unlike that person that was getting rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. Tyler, are you shocked to see this?
Frig, am I ever? I want to see that more in depth after, and I want to see the specs on that bad boy. I like it.
Well, I mean, Tomic's a listener, so we got to give him a little bit of airtime. What questions do you have about this Super 6 Evo Cannondale?
How are the friggin' wheels on her? Are they carbon?
They are carbon. You can. Oh shit! You can hear the knock.
Rim brake.
Rim brake. Yeah.
Just cracks the carbon
wheel. Could you imagine cracks the frame?
Bonk.
Okay.
Yeah. Rim brakes. Dura Ace components.
That's nice.
Dura Ace Di2. Yeah. So it's got the electronic shifting, both front and back.
Oh my god, this is way too nice. How many gears?
It's 11.
So he could rocket ship up the hills with us.
Oh yeah, and he got 2 cassettes with it, a spare chain.
What?
And yeah, the thing.
Where did you get this?
Very nice and light. Marketplace, like I said.
Like what Like what region?
St. Catharines.
Holy frig! I might have to start looking in St. Catharines.
Yeah, you got me to pick it up for you. I'm just gonna be storing all the bikes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a nice Specialized still on still on Facebook Marketplace. Nobody has bought it in Ottawa, and I feel like I just want to scoop it. If I had 3K laying around, I'd friggin' scoop it up right now.
There
But
you go.
we're still trying to get that bike. I still want to get one for the spring. We'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Yeah.
But no, that's a really nice bike.
Oh yeah, it's very nice. So congrats, Tomek. He's getting more into the cult. What I would say is the other essential. We did have an episode about indoor cycling, but the big one that isn't always thought about like by first time beginners is the fans. It's so important to have one or two good fans that are just blasting you with air, or else you're just like dripping in sweat immediately on the indoor bike. So I would just recommend, yeah, find some fans, even like the cheap little Honeywell ones. You get one or two of those and they can pump enough air on you to allow you to last through those sessions.
That's if you don't want to sweat. I was seeing myself actually at the end of the winter block last year, just purposely not putting the fan on because I was starting to get ready for the heat training that summer brings. So that's another just a quick tidbit. If you don't want a fan and you want to suffer, sometimes it's needed.
Good to know. For the runners out there, any like training adjustments that you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you are an outdoor runner, I think if you're using the treadmill, you can kind of do same business as usual as summer. But if you are a outdoor primary runner, you're definitely going to have to be have a little bit more flex in your training plan with the paces you can hold. In the summer, we go by, like, let's say if you're training for a marathon effort because of the heat, but you might just need to go for effort in the winter because of traction, because of it being icy. So hitting the paces in the winter and really that high end, especially the more like mile work, 5K work, definitely becomes a little bit trickier. So sometimes you need to get a little bit creative or not be so rigid with what you want to hit on your workouts, because it can get pretty hard, especially with the ice, the slush, and the snow. The temperature, not so much. The temperature is actually really nice for hitting those paces.
I have a quick little tidbit, and we kind of talked about it earlier before we pressed record. But why go fast when you could go far? And take that even more into consideration in the winter. Is just keep trucking, keep going far. I heard Yonge Street's pretty long. You could just go up and down Yonge Street a few times if you can't go fast.
Yeah, that is the thing. Like the winter is so good for the fitness and you can go nice and far. The only thing that I would say is those first few days of winter, if you were, or of actual snow running, can be super hard on the tendons and ligaments. So that is something that you sort of need to train into because slipping around is not something that you're used to 3 seasons in the year. And those first runs in like bumpy stuff, if you're not a trail runner, it's an experience. Your feet will hurt and yeah, your tendons and ligaments will be screaming at you. So it's worth kind of training into that uneven terrain a little bit.
And one other thing, and I think this will lead into our next point pretty well, is that especially, and I always talk about how much I love running in the city because of the access to water fountains all over. So I don't need to bring very much water on me and I can just do quick pit stops here and there. But in the winter, all of those water fountains get shut off because they don't want their pipes freezing. So that's just like another thing as far as your planning. You can start going to like corner stores, gas station, that kind of thing. But some of those routes that you used to do in the summer that were super easy for hydration might not be so easy anymore with that not being an option.
True. Yeah, and that's the thing is like you don't even feel as thirsty when you're running outside, and because that response is kind of tuned down, like it's so easy in the summer when you're sweating to know you need to drink. But in the winter, sometimes my brain just totally fogs out from the fact that like, yeah, I still need to hydrate properly. And as somebody who's like, as athletes, we're all sweating so much that you still need to have those electrolytes. Maybe not as much, but it's still got to be something that's a part of your foundation.
Yeah, 100%. I see myself now as not taking as much electrolytes as I should be just because, the temperatures are colder. I'm not training as much hours per week, so I'm actually not prioritizing proper electrolytes, and it's making me even when I'm training, even if it's not that much, it's making me achy, getting the recovery slower. So I just got to keep up on the same nutrition goals as the summer, but just tweak them a little bit.
Yeah, one of my big gripes is I'm someone in the winter where I just want to be sipping hot liquids all day long, whether that's coffee, tea, or just hot water. So I know when I'm running, and I remember at Around the Base specifically, I took, and this wasn't even winter, but it was cold. First water cup, I took a sip of it, and it was like very cold, like cold out of the tap, and then I didn't drink any water after that because I was shivering. But it is important to try to get that hydration in because yeah, you'll still get dehydrated.
So I guess important to still buy those electrolytes and keep yourself, yeah, well hydrated, well fed. Now, let's talk a little bit about the mental side of this because there's a few athletes in the community and outside the community who are definitely fair weather friends. And what that means is as the season gets a little colder, the conditions get a little bit tougher, people start, whether they know they're making excuses or not, they start throwing those mental barriers in the way from getting out the door. I know you're really good at this, Andrew, of being very consistent year round. What do you tell yourself on those difficult days?
I mean, main thing I tell myself is during the summer, the trails are super busy. You got to do a bunch of dodging, weaving around people on the trails. In the winter, there's people that are making excuses, and us, the BIM community, we're not one of those people. And there's just so much free real estate on the trails. No one's out there. You have all the room in the world, so it's much more enjoyable. But I think that same with doing heat training, and a bit more of a serious answer, same with doing heat training that builds kind of that really good fitness and that heat adaptation. The mental grit that you get from training through the winter, through the cold, getting out when it's a little less comfortable is a really good simulation for the end of your races when things start to get harder. So I think that is like the key thing of helping you kind of not quit when things get hard in a race, and it almost always does get hard during a race.
That's a really good point. Is that you don't don't think of it as like just today's challenge, but what going out today will mean for future challenges. I really like that.
Yeah, I got to start using that pretty soon because I got to get my butt back into gear. Took a good few weeks, on the down low. And now, actually, I think at the same time that, it's kind of that opposite mindset, like that demotivation of some people kind of makes you a little bit more motivated to get out there and push, let's call it in the darkness, literally as well, like in the dark, compared to other people that now are taking that as a sign of, hey, I'm going to stop training or stop running. Sometimes you just take that and you run with it, like, hey, now I'm actually going to get back into it, going to get that motivation to keep the grind going.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think another thing is just like the BIM community. I think Strava's are really good for this. I know with recovering from an injury, I've just been trying to avoid Strava because I didn't want to get caught by the get out there and do thing bug. But just having a group for accountability through times that are a little bit less ideal, whether that's Strava, Boys in Motion Club, a local run club, local cycling club that is doing some maybe tune-up Tuesdays or something like that, is super good for the winter of just having those people to chat about and just kind of get out the door. If you set a plan on a Sunday morning to do a nice long ride, if you've texted your friend and told them you're going to wake up for it, you better wake up for it because I hear some people have issues with that.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't even talk about that, you and I, Ty. What
I
happened
actually
Sunday
forgot
morning?
about that.
What? We texted the night before, you, me, and Adam. That's too funny.
Did Adam go out?
No, he slept in
Okay.
too. I don't.
Okay, good. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. I didn't forget about it the next morning. I just forgot about mentioning it later on. Yeah, that is a very good point, Andrew. I think just accountability in general. Yeah, that's a really good point. I pressed add to cart to a setup for my iPad, so I'm going to be doing a nice new setup for the indoor trainer. So that was my excuse. It wasn't set up yet, and I just slept through my alarm and just the day went on and I didn't even think about it. So
Wow. Well, it was a very lonely 75K on the bike. Like neither you nor Adam on there. I was just suffering, but it
Greg,
it
I'm
was all
jealous
good.
actually.
It's actually nice. All of my rides on the trainer this year so far have been like zone 2 easy while doing other stuff, like while working, and it's like just on side projects and that sort of thing. It's been really, really nice
I kind of
to
want to
not
start
be doing
dabbling into that as well. And
the workouts. Just sit here at the desk and just move the
pedal.
legs. Yeah.
Well, again, like that, yeah, I'm finalizing my new setup here. I will not be joining for this week's Tune Up Tuesday, but I will be on the trainer this weekend. It's a podcast guarantee, I
Okay,
think.
you heard it here.
Yeah.
No, that's a guarantee. We heard it. You're
That's a
locked in.
And
guarantee.
what's the punishment if you don't? Because there
Oh,
needs to be a
perfect.
punishment.
Punishment? I know you guys got to tell me. I
Okay,
don't
I
know.
think punishment if you don't, you got to raw dog 100 kilometers on the bike with no distractions. Just the MyWoosh screen. No TV, no music, no phone,
Okay, I
nothing.
kind of I kind of do that sometimes anyway. So
Oh my
And
gosh.
not zombie
That's
mode.
that's the Iron
Just
Man.
just normal mode. Not
I
zombie mode.
mean, I zombie mode as in me sleeping or zombie mode as in the game.
The game.
Yeah,
No
I
games.
I got to figure
Just
out how that works.
a vanilla map.
Oh God, endurance climb map.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
would be
I
interesting. So the context there on the zombie mode is MyWoosh released a new game mode on their app, which is called
yeah,
Zombie Mode. I have not tried it. I wonder if anybody else has.
I read. I don't know if you guys read into it, but I read that it's basically you start on easy mode, and it's basically you have to keep up a certain speed to run away from the zombies, and the more points you get, the faster the zombies get.
For frig. So this is literally just a ramp test. Endurance ramp test.
Yeah, but for Pepegas that can't stay focused, I guess.
That's gonna be tough. That like I mean either way you're just gonna be totally burnt by the end because it's literally a ramp test. It's just probably way longer. That's tough.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I'll take that challenge. If I don't, well, what's the ride this weekend? We got to figure out the baseline ride.
Whoa, I mean, okay, minimum 1 hour.
Okay. Yeah. Agreed. Okay.
Okay, there you go. Minimum
Minimum
one
one
hour.
hour.
If you don't, then it's a century that you have
Raw.
to do raw dogged.
A raw century.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
no distractions.
Okay.
So talking about long distances to go. You were part of a backyard ultra this weekend. Tell us about it.
Oh, that's a good segue. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to join the sort of track ultra that a fellow member in Ottawa started. He wanted to do a 125K track ultra. So just ripping laps around a track until you can't see straight anymore. Ezekiel, big shout out to him. Part of the Mustafa gang and the 25th hour endurance club and the Ironman boys that we trained with this summer. So yeah, we there was a big showing for that, and it was, yeah, just literally exactly what it sounds like, a lot of laps around a track. Personally, I only did 11, I think 11K, so 1/10 of the distance. But this guy went from, I think they started around 7:30 a.m. and he was the last one to finish around 1 a.m. and I think he was just shy of that 125 mark. So yeah, big shout out to him. He was, yeah, joined by a lot of people, friends coming and going all day long, and yeah, tent setup. I think it's a really good setup. Of course, the mental game is probably just as hard, if not harder, than the physical game there. But yeah, big shout out to everybody who joined in on that.
Now, I know to do long, freaky things like this, it doesn't take us much of a why. It's usually just why not. But was there any specific reason why he was doing it, or like why the 125K?
Yeah, you're right. It's usually just why not, right? So yeah, he had a actually. So he did just a bit of a background on him. He did the Manitic Backyard Ultra in October, which he did very well in. I think he hit 22 hours, so 155K there. His previous record was, I think, 100K around a track the year before. So he's kind of like, has this ongoing goal of just going further and pushing himself physically and mentally.
Friggin'
But also
broken
he,
brain. That's what I
oh,
call it. That's
oh yeah,
crazy. That's just
that's a broken
nuts.
brain too. Yeah, exactly. Just
Endurance,
wild.
the endurance brain.
But what's crazy is I'm friggin' into that rope. I'm trying to get into those distances.
We all
And
are. We all are. We're all
exactly.
friggin' broken brained.
That's the problem. Like Mustafa, Kyle, everybody was out there. Friggin' did you see Zeke just hit a random 50K just
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Just for fun. She's like all day she was trying to convince everyone else to like join everybody in doing longer and longer, and it
She's
was
sick.
just a great vibe all day long.
That's
It was
awesome.
amazing. Like when your longest run before that, I think for her was 30, I would imagine, with around the bay and other items, other races. But yeah, she goes, "Oh, I think I'm going to do a marathon today in the morning." When I spoke to her, go on Strava. I just rounded up to 50. No big deal. I'm like, you're cracked.
Yeah, the fact that
Um,
like you make that as a game time decision is
yeah,
really, it's insane. It's nice.
exactly, and no
I'm
real
proud.
big prep for any of them. But
No.
but yeah, I think the why for Ezekiel there was he dropped actually a personal project, a what do you call it in English? A bande dessinée,
Comic
a
book.
comic book. He did. I was switched up to my French brain. The bande dessinée. He did a comic book. He had a big project ongoing for over a year. He was talking to me about it, sharing a few laps, and I got to give it a little bit of a ZV Observer. A lot of cool artwork in it, really nicely made. He did a lot of collaborations with some of his friends. There's actually a soundtrack with this comic book. Very cool images, a lot of digital art. So I think he was like, he's been working on that project for a while, kind of intertwining his passion for art and sport, putting that together and just made a cool project out of it. So really, really excited to support him. And I think really cool artwork and maybe a collaboration in the future. So, I mean, cool stuff. And I think that just it grew the community. And again, mashing up, the 25th Hour Endurance Club with our BIM crew in Ottawa, and Kyle, Mustafa, and all the fun people with us too. So it was good
That
day.
that's super cool. Now I gotta chirp you a little bit. Or, sorry, before we move on, and then I'll chirp you. Is Z the Observer, and he has a website, right? That's the best way to connect, or website,
Yeah,
Instagram.
so he has an Instagram, and then like he made a website slash Instagram for his book series. It looked he's teasing because it's a chapter one, so he's teasing multiple chapters out of this project, I would imagine. But yeah, it's a website, Z the Observer, in the Observer, ZEE there, if we want to tag maybe his website or something in the description. But yeah, go check it out. He has some cool merch as well, and just an ongoing project for him. So we'll keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, that's good. Now to keep an eye out for
The
you. Let's
chirps.
get the chirps
What
going.
the chirps?
So you may have been the runner who ran the least amount as a part of that ultra. So what is that about?
Yes, I am. So I am ready to take some flack for that. And actually, the main guy from 25th Hour there, Anthony, went around the. I don't know if he's gonna post it yet or if it's out, but I'll have to repost it because it makes me look hilarious. He's going around with everyone. Everyone's like, "How many kilometers are you doing today?" Someone goes 50. How many are you doing today? 80. How many are you doing today? 125. He comes to me. How many are you doing today? I go 10. And I'm like, oh, nice. And then everybody else just keeps going like double digits, 50, 40, 80. So it was just kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, I didn't want to push it too much coming off of over 15-ish days of not running at all. I was like I was so close. There was this switch in my brain, like, let's just do 50, forget about it, let's just do 50. But I had other things to do on the Saturday, change my tires, get ready for this storm. So I couldn't get that full effect in, and the itch just keeps itching. The bug is itching me. I really want to get out there and do something belligerent.
I love it. Okay, Andrew, do you have anything to add? Because this word belligerent is cueing me for something that I forgot about and I wasn't expecting to talk about, but I'd love to brief you guys on a potential idea.
Nope, not gonna put the brakes on it. Let the idea roll.
Okay, so I saw a short, and Tomic and I passed it back and forth, which was basically you and a group of friends all commit to a challenge. It doesn't need to be the same challenge, as long as everybody in the group agrees that it's a big challenge for you. And it's got to be like a fitness challenge. So for Tyler, it could be benching something. Andrew, for you, it could be, hopping on the bike once or twice. It could be anything like that. And you like everybody commits an equal amount of money. So let's say it's like $100 per person, and it goes into just a pot. And then at the end of the challenge, all of that money gets put on red or black at the roulette table, and only the winners get the potential proceeds of it. So only the people who do like complete their challenge get the potential proceeds, and the group decides whether or not each person's challenge is aggressive enough. So like if you're like the lowest ranked, you got to make it harder. Yes, Tyler.
Cool. I have a few questions here. This is a great idea. First of all, how big is the group? So how big is this pot going to get? And second of all, what if we all do our challenge? I feel like we're all just going to achieve the challenge.
Well, if you all do your challenge, that's a great thing, because then it all gets put on red or black, and then it's a celebration or not, right? Then you're either eating at the keg or you're going to McDonald's.
I mean, I'm in.
So I was thinking, how fun would it be to call the community, get anybody who's interested to join us for this, and then over like the Christmas holiday, we go down to Fallsview, pop on by, maybe a nice run through the casino, whatever the money is on black or red, and then you dip.
Wear BIM merch.
Exactly.
I'm in.
I like that.
So this is a challenge between now and then until Christmas?
Exactly. So it'd be like maybe we set it up so people like, we start this challenge at the end of November, and it's like a 1 month challenge. That's what the one video was. It was like actually for November specifically. But we could do it for December.
All right. Maybe we'll have to put up a story, say add your names, and then we make a big group chat, and then we get belligerent.
I like the sound of this, and yeah, you'd need to sort of like prove the thing via video or like a Strava post, whatever it is, of whatever your specific challenge is, and that would just be so fun, and it would build a lot of camaraderie, and it actually gets you like moving on a short-term goal in the winter.
I already know what I want to do, so sign me up.
This is not locking you in. What would you do, Tyler?
Roundabout Ultra.
What's the minimum distance?
You tell me. 60K.
I like that.
60K. I think you go a little further.
60K. 60K around the friggin' roundabout.
I mean, they did 110 around a track.
Oh, I didn't. I've never done that.
I like the sound of that. I would try to do maybe something fast, like a fastest kilometer ever, or fast mile. But I think the real goal is you sort of need to you need to have everybody rank everybody's goals anonymously, and then like based off those rankings, like you sort of balance out the results. So if everybody's like, oh, Tyler, that's way too easy, a 60K versus like, Adam running a 21-minute 5K, it'd be like, oh, Adam, that's way harder than Tyler just going out for 60K.
What the heck? How did I get myself into 60K?
So you'd get bumped up to 75 based off the council's votes.
Because you're the Ironman king. You go long. That's the issue.
Okay, how about we just do 140 miles, call it a day?
We'll see you at the finish line. I'm not joining you at the start line. I'll see you at the finish line with a blanket and a beer.
I mean,
Andrew,
I really like
any idea on what you would potentially do?
That's a good question. I have a couple FKTs that I want to do, so maybe one of those. So it's a little long and a little fast for the distance, so maybe that. But cool. I think I would have to gauge what other people are doing, because if Tyler's just doing 60K around a roundabout,
that's not quite.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Not quite enough. Yeah, it is really interesting. I like the idea of an FKT. Like basically, you need that speed and that distance, and obviously, like it's got that prestige of you being the fastest ever.
I mean, is there an SKT, slowest known time? Because I'd like to do some of those.
There is, and you'll hear about it on the Strava comments. Don't worry.
There you go. That's hilarious. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap the episode. Tyler, want to kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great idea. Definitely up to some more chats about this challenge here. But yeah, that, like you said, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks for tuning in on Boys in Motion podcast. We hope you're feeling fired up to take on that cold.
Perfect. If you like this episode, make sure that you're following. And don't forget to share this episode with a training buddy who always finds an excuse to skip out on winter runs.
And the weekly reminder that we are not medical professionals, so always check with your coach or qualified expert before you do any crazy things or before you submit that challenge in this group chat we're about to make.
For frig. Well, bundle up, keep moving and grooving to stay warm, and remember, when other people slow down, the boys just keep on rolling.